gonna stand and have a moment of silence, prayer on reflection.
Do we have to stand?
Huh?
Okay. So if you choose to stand for a moment of silence or reflection.
Amen. I'm just going to go over the agenda briefly, just to give an overview of the agenda for tonight. We have a roll call, that's the roll call of the board members who are present. Approval of the minute for November 15th, 2012. And nomination and vote on new or replacement board members. And status of the report on the state and federal cooperation income tax. And status report on the annual Portland and Tour homes. And vote on whether to approve and authorize funding for the home tour. Status report on the anticipated expenses and expected revenue for September 2012 to May 2012. And vote on proposed budget for September 2012 to May 2013. And then we have the panel on Browns and Red. And then we'll open up the house to new business announcement. And we want you to please hold your person and comment until this time. And then at that time, we also have crime report on Tuesday. So first thing on the agenda, we're gonna have the reading of the minutes. You can read it silently. If you find any corrections, we'll do the correction. Everyone have a copy of the minutes? Minutes of the last week?
Why don't you ask if anybody has not already read it?
Anybody have not already read the minutes? No, you just gave me. Everybody have a copy? You all have a copy? Yes.
That's what I said.
It's your 15.
But you said 12. Okay, okay.
We have, the roll call. Little Griffin, Campbell Village, present. Mary Honeydew from Summit Village, present. Bernadette White, Pine View Court, present. David Hawkins, he moved away from the community and he sent his resume. Excuse me, his resignation, I'm sorry. He sent his resignation in, so I accepted with regret. Zoe McNair, she had to resign from the board due to serious illness. And Bernice Green will be nominated for the Wesley House Senior Apartment Bill. Rose Blunt, from Fort Lincoln Senior Dwelling, she resigned. She haven't gotten a resignation, but due to illness too, so she won't be able to be a board member. So Mildred Burgess is a nominee for that position. Queen Brown from Vicksburg Apartment,
Present.
Javon Peterson from Dakota Crossing.
Mr. Peterson is on travel this month, and so won't be able to attend the meeting.
Right, he's not here due to his travel with his job. He's absent tonight. Patricia John Grant, due to the illness of her, she's from Hillside 2 condo. Due to the illness of her sister, she said she's sole caregiver for her sister. So she resigned. I have her resignation. I accepted it with regret. Zelia Diggs, Mapleview.
Present.
Alonzo Root from the village of Dakota Crossing. Oh, I'm sorry, Lydell Smith, I'm sorry. From the Gettysburg apartment. And then Alonzo Root, he hasn't attended a meeting since the annual meeting. He was nominated, so he's been busy and he hasn't been back. So we have another young man. He's nominated for that position. His name is Lamar Hill Barnes. And I have his resume, outstanding resume. And Joseph Witherspoon from the Petersburg apartments. Haven't heard from Mr.
I spoke with him yesterday, and I expect him to be here today.
So far he hasn't come in. So I have a note from Zoe McNair from the Wesley House. I'm going to read it. Dated 12/20/12. She said, I enjoyed my time serving with you. My illness is the reason that I have to resign from your board. Sincere, so McNair. We pray for her. So the next item is nomination and vote on new and replacement board members. And that would be by the nominating committee. And the nominees that we're voting on is Javon Peterson, Dakota Crossing.
No, we're not. Not Javon Peterson.
No, those are the ones that we're replacing.
The ones we're voting on are listed on the agenda.
Pardon me?
The ones we're voting on are listed on the agenda.
Oh, okay. So I don't need to read that. Okay, so the nominating committee will. Right, we'll nominate the nominees to the board.
All right. Pearson. As chairman of the Fort Lincoln Civic Association Nominations Committee, it's my responsibility to obtain replacements for board members who resign due to illness or care for a family member, or in the few instances where we don't already have a representative of a housing cluster in Fort Lincoln. I should mention that there will be, in addition to the persons who are nominated this evening, there will be one other person who will be serving on the board in January, and that is Jacqueline Manning, who was elected as a representative of, I think it's 5AC2. Now that Fort Lincoln has been divided into two A and C single-member districts, Bob King represents one portion of it, and Jacqueline Manning was elected to be the representative of the other portion, which includes Dakota Crossing and the Petersburg Apartments. And so by virtue of her during the elections back in November, you recall we asked her a number of questions about whether she was supportive of the Civic Association. She said she was, and she wanted to work very closely with Fort Lincoln Civic Association. She met all the requirements in our bylaws for automatically being able to serve on our board as one of the ANC commissioners. And so beginning, her term takes effect January 6th. Our next meeting, I think, is January 15th. So that's after she would take office. So I expect she will be here as our ANC person on the board. The other ANC person is Bob King, and back about 4 years ago, the board voted unanimously not to extend an offer to Bob King to be on our board because of his long history of opposing the Civic Association and its efforts. Anytime anyone can bring up a motion to reconsider that, Bob King has not. So we'll be then having, as far as I know, only one ANC commissioner for Fort Lincoln who will be serving beginning with our January session. Okay, the first nominee is Mildred Burgess of 2855 Bladensburg Road, the Fort Lincoln Senior Building. And Ms. Burgess is the vice president of the tenant association in the building. And I've spoken with her quite a bit in the last couple of weeks, and I expected her to be here tonight. So hopefully she's been delayed, so I'm going to move on to our second nominee. Ms. Burgess would replace Rose Blunt, who was a representative for 2855 Bladensburg Road, but who has suffered a very serious illness, and so is no longer able to perform the duties of representing 2855 Bladensburg Road. Mildred Burgess is the vice president of the Tenants Association of 2855 Bladensburg Road. So hopefully, again, she's just been delayed. Can I ask that someone check to make sure the front door, that the people who come to the front door have a way of getting in? Because someone last time said the door got locked after about 6:45. I hope she's not standing out there trying to get in. The next nominee then would be Bernice Green. Who is present today. And Ms. Green is the nominee for the Wesley House Apartments. And I'm going to give a brief summary of her qualifications, and then the board, if she wants to make a statement, she can do that, and any board members have any questions for her, she'd be happy to entertain them. Ms. Green is a retired government employee. She worked for 38 years in the federal government. She is a native Washingtonian. She's lived in Ward 5 for 48 years. She moved to Wesley House very shortly after it opened in August of 2008. She has a background through her career as a typist, a secretary, and a financial analyst. She's the mother of 2 sons, 2 daughters. Oh, here we go. 8 grandchildren, 3 great-grandchildren, and 2 great-grandsons. Since she's retired, she's performed a lot of volunteer work, which is something we look for in nominees. She's worked with the Experience Corps, and she's currently volunteering in the Foster Grandparents Program. She's also worked on a number of different campaigns, including campaigns for King, Vincent Orange, and King and McGuffin. And most importantly, for the past 3 years, she has served as Vice President of the Wesley House Tenants Association. So, Ms. Green, if you'd like to make any additional comments at this time.
No, not really. I'm just please take Zoe's place. Zoe is seriously ill, and your friends, and she asked me to take over for her. And so I did it gratefully to help her. And I've been to your meetings and I've enjoyed them. And so I just said yes.
And we have Zoe's resignation. Any questions by members of the board?
How long have you been in the reservoir?
Since it opened, I was one of the first ones to move in there July 28, 2008.
Wait a minute. I was waiting to hear the year, thank you.
And then we formed the Tenants Association. So pretty soon, in July, it'll be 5 years I've been there.
Oh, time goes fast. Time goes by fast.
It sure does. I didn't believe I had worked almost 30 years either.
Now, Ann Ricker is the president of the Tenants Association at Wesley House, and so we know Ann is also very closely with us. The first few months, we had our monthly meetings at the Wesley House, and in almost every meeting, we would see Louise, including when we moved over here. So she's more than up to speed on what the work of the board has been so far this year. I'm pleased to nominate her as a consequence, and I would ask the board to vote favorably on her nomination.
I would recommend that the board accept Bernice Green as a member from Wesley House.
For a second,
That's
and call for the vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed? Congratulations, Ms. Green. And you now take your flag and take a seat up on the board. Next nominee is Mr. Lamar Burns. And initially, there's a question of his predecessor, who was Alphonse Ruth. You remember Mr. Ruth was present in the July meeting, and since then, Mr. Ruth, his work responsibilities have been overwhelming. And despite his best intentions, he's been unable to attend a meeting since then. At our last meeting, Ms. Lyons, whose husband used to be the president of the Fort Lincoln Civic Association, who now lives in the Villages at Dakota Crossing, recommended one of her neighbors to replace Mr. Ruth. And I subsequently contacted her neighbor, whose name is Anjali DeGrasse. And like Mr. Ruth, she lives on Hurston Lane, which is one of the first streets at the Villages that was the residents moved into. Miss Anjali, though, had the sense of travel schedule and conflicted with our meeting dates, and so she recruited her neighbor, Mr. Barnes. And Mr. Barnes, after reviewing our website, which gives our history and bylaws and that sort of thing, has gracefully agreed to represent the Villages at Dakota Crossing. As I mentioned, he lives on Hurston Lane with Mr. Ruth and with Ms. DeGrasse. So I expect he'll be able to count on their support for future endeavors. For those who have email, and tempted for those who don't, to drop off a copy of his resume. As you can see, he has a background that qualifies him a number of different ways. Although he has only lived in Fort Lincoln for less than a year, he brings to the position extensive leadership and professional skills, as well as a volunteer history, something very important to us. You see on the last page of his resume that he's been a volunteer in a lot of community and school-related matters. He has a background in athletics. Whenever I mention something, the person who's responsible for that kind of committee, I'm sure, is looking up. Because we have the Youth Affairs Committee. He has an extensive background in finances. And of course, we have the Planning and Zoning Committee, we have the Finance Committee. So the members of those, chairpersons of those committees, certainly, I'm sure the years are certainly picking up. I assume he's a Southerner because he graduated from Western Carolina University with a BSBA in finance, and that's a historical college, I think. Lily White. In Halloween, North Carolina. So, let me turn things over to him, for him to make any comments he wishes, followed by any questions of him.
Hello, good evening. I think it's one of my personal missions to this community involvement because to make the better place where you live and to add value to where you live is always, I think, number one. And I actually should say sub-community because our community is everywhere we go. So our sub-community, I think, is a great honor to serve on this board. And from that standpoint, I really care about Fort Lincoln, even though I've only been here for a time. It's my first home purchase, so I really care about it, and I'm really excited about the neighborhood. So.
One thing. I move that we accept Mr. Lamar Vaughn and to the Civic Association.
A second.
This is moving second that we accept Mr. Barnes as a board member on our board. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Welcome aboard, Mr. Barnes.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to work on?
If I can maybe get a little list of maybe
You want to take your flag there?
Please.
Join the board. Make sure we have enough seats up there. There's an extra chair back there just in case we run out of. And the next nominee is Candy Pierce. Ms. Pierce? I think you took her, did you take two?
I did.
And of course, Ms. Pierce is no stranger to members of the board. She serves as the chairperson of the
Roads and Grounds Recreation.
Roads, Grounds, and Recreation Committee. And in fact, she's going to be chairing the discussion about the swimming pool here. That's one of the main recreation outlets in Fort Lincoln that has not been staffed, that is, with a lifeguard for almost 2 years now. And so at the request of the PTA at the school, we put on the agenda the issue of why that is, and an explanation for why. Something as simple as providing a lifeguard for the pool is so exorbitant that the Department of Parks and Recreation can't afford it. But that is just a part of Ms. Brown's background in working with Fort Lincoln community. She's active in Hillside, where she is replacing Patricia John's grant. Again, illness strikes again. Ms. Grant has responsibility for her very seriously ill sister, and so she also supports the nomination of Ms. Pierce as her replacement. Ms. Pierce, you want to add anything additional?
Well, I've lived here for 32 years, and I'm the former president of Hillside, too. And I've worked on just about everything we've done here for Lincoln since I've lived here, and assist Ms. Griffin in most of the things that she do. I work with the seniors closely, basically the 3298 building, and my husband is also active with the seniors. I would like to see a lot of things that's not done here. I love it here, and I want to stay here as long as I can, done, because we have so much here of improvement that we need to do. But as a group, it can be done, and I would like to be part of that group, to see that it's carried out. And again, I'm going to chair the Roads and Ground Recreation Committee. I have a lot of plans for that. That's not falling in place like I want it to, but it's going to get better to help Mr. Pearson and my committee, Hawkins and Ms. Jones, and the council member, McDuff. So I got a lot of plans for our Grounds and Recreation Committee, and I would be glad to be a part of the Civic Association Board. But also, if there is somebody with this chairing this committee, or the Grounds Committee, it looks like it's going to be, it's not look like, I know it's going to be a lot of work. If someone else come forward and would like to do this job that I'm supposed to do for this board, I will be glad to give them that seat. But right now, we're glad to, of course, to have a full board to participate.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept Claire Pierce as one of our board members to replace Patricia Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Congratulations. That completes the report of the nomination committee. Doesn't look like Ms. Burgess is going to make it. I'll be in contact with her to reschedule her nomination for the January meeting, as well as in contact with Javin Peterson regarding his nomination to serve as representative of the Dakota Crossing. Thank you.